Somewhere on an ancient plain, a man falls. Maybe he slips while climbing after honey. Maybe an animal turns on him. Maybe the ground simply gives way beneath his foot. Whatever the cause, in a single second, his leg breaks. And now something begins that no modern person can truly imagine. There is no hospital. There is no doctor waiting somewhere over the hill. There is no bottle of pills, no clean bandage, no injection that will make the world go quiet for a while. There is only his body, the broken bone inside it, the ground beneath him, and the people who happen to be nearby. This is the story of how ancient humans faced pain, and it is not the story most people expect. Because the most important discovery is not what they put on the wound, it is what they did for each other. Start with the pain itself, because pain is stranger than it looks. We treat pain as an enemy, as something to be silenced as fast as possible. But pain is not a malfunction. It is one of the oldest and most valuable systems the body ever built. Pain is information delivered in the only language the body cannot ignore. There are rare people alive today who are born unable to feel pain at all, and their lives are not peaceful. They bite through their own tongues without noticing. They walk on broken ankles. They lean against hot surfaces and do not pull away. Many of them do not live long. Their bodies destroy themselves quietly because nothing is there to shout stop. That is what pain really is. It is the shout. It is the ancient system that says, something is wrong, and you must deal with it now, before it kills you. For an ancient human, that shout was everything. It told him not to walk on the injured leg. It told him not to use the torn shoulder. It forced him to rest, to protect the wound, to stay still long enough for the body to begin the slow work of repair. Without pain, our ancestors would have kept moving on broken bodies until those bodies failed completely. So pain was not the enemy of survival. Pain was one of its guards. But that does not make it any easier to live through. Because the ancient body had another problem. It could shout, but it could not stop shouting. There was no switch. Once the signal began, it kept coming, hour after hour, day after day, through the heat of the afternoon and through the long silence of the night, and there was nothing anyone could take to make it stop. This is the part that is genuinely hard to sit with. Modern humans experience severe pain rarely, and usually briefly, because we can end it. Our ancestors lived inside it. A broken bone did not mean a few weeks of discomfort. It meant weeks of agony, followed by months of an imperfect body. A deep wound meant days of burning, followed by the terrifying wait to see whether the flesh would heal or turn against them. A rotting tooth meant a slow, grinding torture with no possible relief except time, or the tooth finally falling out. And this happened constantly. When archaeologists examine ancient skeletons, they find a record of suffering written directly into the bone. Broken arms, crushed ribs, fractured skulls, damaged spines, joints worn smooth from a lifetime of hard use. Many ancient humans carried several serious injuries at once, and their bodies show that they were living with them, not dying from them. Which raises the question at the center of this entire story. If the pain never stopped and no medicine existed, how did anyone survive it? They found small answers first. The land itself offered a few gifts to anyone who paid attention. Certain leaves, chewed slowly, dulled the edge of a headache. Certain barks reduced fever and swelling, and one of them, willow, contains a natural compound closely related to the aspirin sold today. Cold water numbed a swollen joint. Mud and cool leaves could be pressed onto a burn. Some plants, chewed or brewed, could push the mind far enough away from the body that the pain became something happening at a distance. These were not sophisticated treatments, and most of them barely worked. But they were the beginning of something enormous, because they represent the first moment humans stopped simply enduring the world and started trying to change it. Someone, somewhere, noticed that a bitter bark made the ache smaller and told someone else. That knowledge was carried, repeated, refined, and passed down across generations, long before anyone could write it down. And they went further than plants. Ancient humans cleaned wounds. They wrapped them. They pulled foreign objects out of flesh. They pressed hard on bleeding to slow it. They tied broken limbs to straight sticks so the bone could set. Some of them cut open the skull itself, drilling small holes into the bone, and the astonishing thing is that many of those skulls show healing around the edges of the hole. The person lived. Somebody performed something close to surgery with stone tools, and the patient survived it. But none of this is the real answer, because the true medicine of the ancient world was not a plant, and it was not a technique. It was the group. Consider what a broken leg actually means for a hunter-gatherer. He cannot walk. He cannot run from danger. He cannot follow the group when it moves to new land. He cannot find his own food, or carry water back to camp, or defend himself from anything. In a purely brutal calculation, he is now a cost with no return. Every animal in the wild that ends up in that condition dies, and dies quickly. And yet ancient human skeletons tell us something extraordinary. Bones that were badly broken are found healed. Not merely closed, but healed, which takes weeks of immobility. In some cases, we find individuals who lived for years with injuries so severe they could not possibly have hunted, gathered, or defended themselves. One famous example is a Neanderthal man found in a cave who had suffered a crushing blow to the side of his face that likely blinded one eye. His arm was withered and possibly amputated. He had multiple healed fractures across his body and severe damage to his legs that would have made walking difficult and painful. He was, by every measure of the wild, finished. He lived for years after those injuries, which means that someone brought him food, someone brought him water, someone let him stay when the group moved, someone tolerated a man who could give almost nothing back for years in a world where every mouth mattered and every hand was needed. That is the discovery hidden inside those bones. Long before medicine, humans invented something more powerful than any plant. They invented care. And this changed what pain meant. Because pain in isolation is unbearable in a way that pain among people is not. When you are hurt and alone, the suffering is total, and the fear underneath it is worse than the pain itself. But when you are hurt and surrounded, something shifts. The body still screams, but the animal terror of being helpless begins to quiet, because helplessness is no longer fatal. Someone is watching. Someone will bring food. Someone will still be there in the morning. The group did not remove the pain. It removed the abandonment. And that is probably the deepest thing our ancestors understood about suffering, even if they never had the words for it. They learned that a human being can endure an astonishing amount of pain, but almost no one can endure it alone. This is also why touch mattered so much. A hand on the shoulder, someone holding a wound closed, someone sitting beside a person through the worst hours of the night, doing nothing at all except being there. We know now that human contact genuinely changes how the brain processes pain signals, softening them, making them easier to carry. Our ancestors did not need to know the mechanism. They only needed to notice that a person in agony calmed slightly when someone stayed close, and that a person left alone did not. So the oldest painkiller humans ever had was not a plant, it was another person. And that is the part that survives in you. You will probably never break a bone with no doctor within reach. You will probably never wait in a cave to find out whether a wound turns fatal. But the ancient system is still running underneath everything, quietly, exactly as it always did. It is still why pain frightens you more when you are on your own. It is still why illness feels heavier at 3 in the morning, in the dark, in silence, with nobody awake beside you. It is still why the first thing many people want when they are truly hurt is not a medicine at all, but a voice, a hand, a person who will sit there and not leave. Ancient humans could not defeat pain. They had almost nothing to fight it with. What they had instead was each other, and it turned out that this was enough to carry a species through hundreds of thousands of years of broken bones, torn skin, fevers, and long, dark nights of suffering. We built hospitals eventually. We built drugs that can silence agony in seconds. But we did not invent the thing that made survival possible in the first place. That was already there, around a fire, in the sound of someone breathing beside you, in the simple fact that when you could no longer stand, another human being decided to stay.